Perfect. And we're going live. All right. So the funny thing, right, with Facebook, I hit that live button and then, it always takes a kind of second or two here to churn in, Saadi. But I'm going to get real excited in a minute because you know that I'm excited and I'm hyped up to be here because this is a long time coming, right? And we're live in the group now. So Barbarian Dads, be excited. I'm hyped up because we've got my man Saadi here today, right? And Saadi has a story, an inspirational tale. And I'm so excited that he agreed to come on with me today and talk to you about his journey. How's it going, Saadi?
Rocking it, bro. Rocking it.
Rocking it. I know. It's crazy times we're living in. And I think all of us need to hear inspiration from different people, different sources about how you can still in this crazy time, focus on something positive and make some change. And your story, when we've known each other for a little bit, but when I started to see last year that you were going through this crazy transformation, I first saw on our Facebook, you posted a pic and you're like, okay, this is what I'm doing. I was like, what the fuck is going on? What is Saadi up to? And I kept seeing your progress. And when we finally got a chance to talk months ago, and I got to hear more about what you've been going through, what you've been doing, it's just such an inspirational tale. And I see we got people jumping in here. So Adam Drake's dropping a like. Awesome that you're turning in. Adam's saying, what's up? All right. So anybody coming in live, give us a like. I see some people are coming in. So show us a like, show us you're here. Right. We want to interact with you. So if you have any questions, comments, drop them in Facebook. Okay. If you're watching this in the replay, show me a replay below. So Saadi, first of all, tell us a little bit about yourself. Where do you live? What do you do?
All right. I'm currently 44 years old. I work as a renovation contractor in our nation's capital, Ottawa, Canada. Father of 3 daughters. Married 15 years. Yeah, this is basically the crib notes.
Yeah, and your girls are older now, eh? They're getting up there.
Yeah, my eldest is in university now. And then we have 13 and 8.
Beautiful. And right now, coronavirus, how are you dealing with everything that's going on?
Well, right now I'm currently on lockdown. My industry is generally one of the ones that are open up early, but with this current lockdown, I've had to sit tight and bide my time, so to speak.
Nice. Yeah, and what I love though is despite all that going on, because we talk all the time, right? Your spirits are still up. And I know because you got goals that you're working on, you got stuff you're focusing on.
For sure.
And I want to get right into this because we got people here that are, Joe Keating's on. He's saying, hey guys, what's up? How's it going? Joe, good to see you. I knew that you were tuning in for this one. Saadi, let's take it back here because I know, we're looking at you now, beautiful beard. Like I was commenting before, you know me, I like a good beard. It's the barbarian way. But when I think back and I see that picture, right, that we used to advertise this of Saadi before, you were coming in at close to 400 pounds, right? 397, you said that was kind of the highest point.
390. Yeah, even looking now at those pictures, it just seems so surreal. My mind is blown how I let myself get to that point. And looking at it now, it almost seems like a lifetime ago.
So when we say that high point, 397, how long ago are we talking?
A couple years, 2 years, basically.
About 2 years ago. Because like I said, I know that, this isn't something that, you didn't drop 150 pounds overnight. This has really been a journey that you've been on, and we've been working together for a few months, and, we're going to get into all that. So if you can remember back, if you could think back to that time, what was life like for you at that point?
At the time, I thought life was fine. Honestly, I had, obviously struggles. When you're that large, you're going to have struggles. Work was a struggle. It took a lot of effort to do the jobs that I needed to do. There was definitely strains on all types of relationships. Although at the time I was kind of obtuse about it. I couldn't recognize that things weren't quite right. So a couple of things kind of happened to kind of kickstart all this off. I had some very intense conversations with friends and family, and I guess it just came to a point where it was the last straw that broke the camel's back, and then I just decided that I got to do something about this. Like I can't do this. I can't continue on this path because it affects me in so many ways. And I think the big thing for me was recognizing how it affected me. I think for a
Mm,
long time I was blissfully unaware, um, maybe even intentionally ignorant as to the impacts that this was having on me. So yeah, it got to the point where um, enough was enough. Like, and
so
you could see from that picture, like clearly enough was enough.
so is this a thing like, have you been overweight throughout your entire life? Is this something where, like nobody wakes up one morning and goes, okay, you've gotten to that point. Is it something that
Mhm.
this built up over time? Like you said, you're 44 now. So if we're thinking, maybe 2 years ago, 42, that you made some changes, have
Mhm.
you struggled with weight your whole life? Is this a natural creep?
Weight was uh, always a problem. At 13 years old, I was 200 pounds,
Okay.
which is pretty sizable for 13. And I think probably about mid 20s, I kind of balanced back out. I kind of dropped to about the 240 range, 230 at times.
Okay.
But my career at the time, I was doing a lot of landscaping, a lot of heavy sweat, heavy labor type work. Um, so that was kind of like my exercise, so to speak.
Mhm.
Um, I then got married and I transitioned more into renovations, which isn't as labor intensive. And you get comfortable and you get complacent, and a pound picks up here or there, and it's a gradual process. Like when I got married, I was about 260. So I had picked up about 20 pounds from when I started dating my wife to when we got married. But then over the years, 5 pounds here, 10 pounds there. Next thing like I was rocking size 58 pants, and having to buy clothes at specialty places, and kind of demoralizing. But yeah, it just slowly slips. It slowly slips. And so weight has been a struggle, I would say, almost all of my life.
So you talk about, this sort of, you mentioned earlier, the sort of ignorance of this process, and as you're saying, like it was kind of that it built and over time. When you did have like a recognition of this, of going, oh, like, okay, I have to go to a different store now to buy my pants, or like, just was the recognition that's there, was there like any of that? Was it a kind of checking in and going, hey, something's going on here? Or was it sort of pushing those thoughts and those feelings aside?
I think it was a lot of the latter, a lot of those pushing those thoughts. I would basically sell myself. I would sell myself on, it's okay, I'm happy, I'm doing what I want to do, et cetera, so on and so forth. Um, but that was actually deluding myself, really, is what it came down to. Um, like I said, there was definitely a wear and tear factor, not only on my body, but on my work, my professional life, my personal relationships. Um, it touched everything, and there was a point where I just started blaming it on everything else. It can't be this, so it's got to be, and then you go through a justification process, and you just get left with feeling empty. You get left with feeling like you're by yourself. You're the only one that is feeling anything about this. It's it was a bad place to be mentally. Bit of a kind of a defeatist attitude, defeatist perspective. So I'm so glad that that's no longer the case now.
And when you were at that point, like as this was going, and I hear what you're saying in terms of like, like that battle we have in ourselves and that capacity to sort of tell ourselves stories about what's happening. But you were saying like you were seeing your body, because doing construction work, doing renovations, this is tough on the body. So you were saying
Mhm.
like your physical capacity, was it decreasing? Like, did you notice like you weren't being as efficient at work, anything? Like,
I definitely wasn't being as efficient at work, but uh, I would try and compensate for that. So like doing the same job, it would progressively get harder and harder and harder to do that same job. So whether it be, kitchen renovation, addition, whatever the case may be, the next time I did it, it was a little bit harder, which is kind of counterintuitive. It takes away from the experience that you have and the efficiencies that you have, and you're actually spending more effort and more time to accomplish the same results. So it was, like I said, it wasn't good for any aspect of my life, but I think, there's a bit of selling yourself on, well, it can't be, it's got to be something else. And you go through a justification process, and
so
yeah,
you mean like, so you were sort of saying that you were basically looking at, okay, like work's getting tougher or relationships are getting strained, but it's not the weight. Like
yeah,
that's
it's
what you
not the
mean.
way.
Okay.
Yeah, it's somebody else's problem. It's somebody else's fault. It's something else's fault. It can't be, and it is the thing, right? And I knew it at the time, but I was actively trying to convince myself to something else because I didn't want to take the steps that were necessary to make the changes that were necessary to improve my life.
To
Is
change it.
That's the short of it. I didn't want to go through that effort.
And what was, like you talked about earlier, that had some tough conversations with family, friends. What was really that straw or that moment? I don't know if you can remember it, that you went,
I do very
okay,
vividly.
I need, like, there's a change that needs to happen, that all of this, stuff that you kind of put aside was in front of you.
Candidly, it was a conversation with my wife. It was a bit of a brutal conversation. Kind of struck me right to the core. I won't get into too many details about it, but needless to say, the strain on my personal relationship with my wife was reaching an apex.
Okay.
Um, and at that point, I found that I was running out of justification. At that point, when people are just calling me out,
Mm,
uh, it's so hard for me to say, or anybody to say, well, you're insane, well, you're shallow. That's actually what I did. I accused my wife of being shallow and petty, and I regret that now because she was just concerned about my physical well-being, my physical health. I mean, nobody's walking around at 400 pounds being healthy. You know what I mean? So she was concerned about my life longevity. She was concerned about me being around for my kids,
of course, right? The
etc.
children, being a father, they
And,
being there, yeah.
and fully merited, fully merited. Um, I got defensive. I got hurt. I got wounded. Um, that exaggerated the difficulties in our relationship, obviously. Um, but I
She
think
was she was
that was,
really forcing you to confront, like, right, like
yes,
putting it on to confront all
absolutely.
this, deal with it. So
Yeah.
what then, like you're talking about this tough conversation, was that the final straw that like after that you turned around and went, okay, I need to do something about it?
That was definitely the catalyst. It was it was a slap in the face. It was that cold water. It was that wake up call. Once I licked my wounds a little bit, um, I I started recognizing the realities of what I was hearing, not just from her, but from everybody, when you have friends and family, it's almost like a taboo subject to bring up. It's almost like, people want to say something because they're concerned, but they don't want to offend you. They don't want to hurt your feelings. They don't want to, make you feel bad for how you've let yourself get. And so, in the end, in hindsight, I most definitely appreciate that my wife did, in fact, do that. And that was definitely a catalyst for me, for sure.
So then when you went, okay, that's it, it's time to take action. Because I know, right, the big thing that you focused on first, what were those first steps that you took to make some change?
So, my first steps at 397, exercising seemed really, really daunting. Really, really daunting. I mean, I couldn't walk a kilometer without my back aching or getting out of breath. Just like a very moderate, mild pace walk. Um, you know, it's 24 degrees outside and I'm sweating like a pig just because I'm
Mm.
so large. You know what I mean? So I made a conscious decision that my first step had to be adjustments to my diet. I needed to shed some weight to feel like I had enough mobility and enough gumption to actually start exercising.
So
Um,
taking that action on nutrition was like giving it give you that little boost of confidence, like, okay, I might be actually able to do this.
yes, yes, for sure. When I started focusing on, my diet and my nutrition, and I was uber diligent. I started seeing results pretty rapidly, especially being at such a large size.
Mhm.
You can see results pretty rapidly. I mean, just water weight alone is like 20 pounds. You know what I mean? So you can start to see the results starting to happen, and then that kind of fuels a little bit of confidence. That kind of gives you a little bit, okay, this is moving, this is working. Then you get a little bit hungrier, you get a little bit more motivated, and then before I knew it, I was starting to take mild walks. Less time sitting on the couch watching TV, more time just trying to be outside. And the weight kept coming off, and then I got to the point where I was about 300, 290, somewhere around there, and I said, okay, now it's time to take the next step.
Mm.
And this was before we started working together.
Yeah.
So then I started having a cardio regime, self-managed, walk, jog, so to speak. Jog as much as I can, walk until I was ready to jog again, then jogged again. I would try and get an hour of that every day. Um, and then I, started working on areas that were of personal importance to me. So I didn't have any weights, I didn't have any exercise equipment, I didn't have anything. So I just tried to do what I can with what I had. So I know my wife was a little bit more health conscious, so she had showed me some exercises in the past that I was just like, whatever, leave me alone. Don't talk to me about this stuff. Um, so then I just started doing some push-ups and planks and crunches and jumping jacks here or there, and the weight kept coming off. The weight kept coming off, and then we got into contact when I started to actually see some
Some change.
impressive stuff in the mirror. Like not just the weight loss, but I started to see a little bit of muscle growth and whatnot. And for the first time in my life, I was able to actually see something behind the skin of my stomach, which
Mm.
was really exciting for me. And that's when we got into contact.
So I want to, and we're going to talk about that, right? But first, I just want to talk about these first steps that you're taking again.
Sure.
When you were right on the cusp, were you hopeful that you could do this?
I was determined. I had a fair amount of doubt. to be perfectly frank. I knew I was determined. I knew I wanted this desperately. I wanted to make it happen. But in the back of my mind, I was like, you've been a big guy all your life, maybe you're not being realistic. Maybe this is just the way you are. But, I fought hard against those thoughts and those feelings. And I just kind of kept my head down and kept going at it, because like I didn't put on that much weight overnight, and it certainly isn't going to come off overnight.
Okay, but the funny thing is, because we'll talk about it, it kind of did for you. So we'll talk about that first month.
Yes.
A little weight loss, big weight loss. But for you,
Yeah.
You basically did this on the keto diet, right? Did you do a
Mhm.
lot of research, or did you really go in depth and make a plan, or were you just like, did you get the outline of keto and just went full bore? Like, how did you approach going keto?
Well, I'm my thoughts on diet in general. There I haven't had much success, but I also haven't dedicated myself really as much as I could. Um, I like my proteins. I found that keto kind of suited the way I ate for the most part. So I did some research. I figured out what I could eat, what I couldn't eat, what I should eat, what I shouldn't eat. Um, so I probably did some research for, a few days. And then I decided to give it a whirl. And the results were pretty dramatic initially, I gotta say.
And this is what you said, and I'm just going to interject here because we got some people, giving comments. I got Adam Drake. He was saying earlier when you were talking about all the pain, you're selling yourself short. He was saying, "Preach, brother," right? And Joe Keating was just coming in saying, "I love the motivation. It can be hard working on your own without immediate drastic results. Awesome job." And I love that, Joe, right? Because we know this is not, as you said yourself, right? This isn't something you didn't put on the weight overnight. It's not going to all come off overnight. And I think having that attitude of like, okay, we're in pain, we want to get out of pain, and knowing that, okay, small steps, it's not going to all happen overnight. And to
For
even
sure.
what you said earlier, Saadi, right, that when you started getting a little bit of that confidence, the hope increases, the belief, that doubt is going to diminish, and that
Absolutely.
confidence that we can do this is going to increase. So tell me
Absolutely.
about that first month on this.
Well, I'll expand it to the first 2 months because
Okay.
I didn't hit a scale until I was 60 days in. Um, I noticed after about the first 3 weeks that there was something going on. But I intentionally avoided the scale. I didn't want to be so focused on that you can end up weighing yourself 3-4 times a day, and then you gain a pound and your confidence disappears. And I didn't want that for myself. So after about 2 months, I had noticed some real physical changes, and I'm like, okay, I know I'm down. Let's see how much. So after 60 days, I had shed 88 pounds.
Hey.
I know, right? Like 1.2 pounds a day was coming off of me. It was flying off. And this was exclusively dietary at this point. And when I saw that, I thought the scale was broken because that's just not possible, right? That's just
You
not
said how much?
possible.
80, 88?
88, 88
88 pounds in
pounds.
60 days.
Yeah, that's like what? But yeah, I actually thought the scale was broken, and then so I went to the doctor. I booked an appointment with the doctor. I told him what I was doing. I've started this diet, blah 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 blah. He said, okay, well, we'll do some blood work at the same time, whatnot. I walked into the doctor's office. I sat down. I'm waiting for him. He comes in. He opens the door. He's like, "Oh, sorry," and then he goes to leave. I'm like, "No, no, you got the right room." He opened the door. He was like, "Saadi, wait." He actually swore. He didn't recognize me at all. He didn't recognize me. My doctor didn't recognize me.
And just so you know, you're blowing minds here. I'm getting like emoji faces just lighting up of like,
Yeah, no, it was I felt that way too.
so the doctor, what he was doing, this is what everybody else is doing too. So
Yeah, he was in disbelief. So he ordered like a full spectrum of blood work because I don't know, maybe in the back of his mind he thought I was anorexic or something like that.
okay.
Um, uh, all my blood pressure had normalized, cholesterol levels had dipped, uh, things were going tickety boo, and he was just like kind of like picking up his jaw off the floor, which I gotta say, that feels pretty good.
When you make a doctor swear in their office and break that professionalism and get that raw
Yeah.
reaction, that's gotta feel pretty good.
Yeah, yeah, no, I was walking around strutting a little bit after that, so
Yeah. Yeah, going home that day. What up,
yeah,
fam? Feeling pretty
you
good.
would, yeah, yeah, and you know what the thing about when you start feeling like that, not only is that uh, contagious for everybody else, but it also kind of allows you to kind of like double down and keep that trend going.
It's momentum, right? Like,
Momentum, exactly, exactly.
yeah. So Adam's saying things were going tickety boom. He quoted you on that. So this is going to be one that we're going to use now. So Saadi, if we take it then, right, like you have that immediate result, as you're saying, this is building momentum. You're feeling good. The
Mhm.
family, like it sounds like everybody's getting energized, right? You're seeing this big change. So I can feel it, right? Doubt going down, confidence going up. And we'll take
Mhm.
it back to that point. When did you really start thinking about like, okay, I've made all these dietary changes. Now I want to take it to that next level, and maybe like look to bring in a coach or look to get some help for the exercise. What was going on at that point?
Well, what was kind of like a little bit of the seed for that was diet is only going to get you so far. You can moderate your diet as much as you want, but it will only take you part of the way. It's only part of the journey. And so I noticed I was starting to plateau a little bit. The weight wasn't coming off. Well, naturally, it wasn't coming off at nearly the rate as it was. That's to be expected, but it wasn't coming off at the rate that I wanted it to.
So not happening
So
fast
then,
enough. Yeah, I hear it.
yeah. So then I started. I'm lighter now. I'm feeling more fit. I'm not sitting and sweating. Like it takes me physical activity now to sweat. Um, so I decided, now's the time to start the second part of this. And so like I just started on my own because I didn't know anything. So I knew walking was good for me. I knew jogging was good for me. I knew, you know, planking and sit-ups and push-ups. I know all these things are good for me. So I just started doing them when I could, when I had some time and, even like sitting watching TV, I'll do some jumping jacks or, I'll do some sit-ups or whatever the case may be. I would squeeze it in wherever possible, basically. And then that trend picked up again. So now I got diet going well and I'm starting to get some exercise in. So the weight started to continue to drop off. It's math is what it comes down to, right? It's to dumb it down. It's math.
It is, but it's an interesting thing because often we talk about this calories in, calories out equation, right? And
Hmm.
yes, for a lot of people it can be, but sometimes it's not as simple. And I like that, for you, I think, Saudi, right, having that mindset shift, seeing that the confidence came, I think is probably a
Hmm.
big part of why this was
Oh, for
happening in the
sure.
right way. And I know right around this time when, this is sort of when we connected, because I remember talking to you the first time and I was like, well, what are you
Hmm.
doing? And you told me about the diet, the weight loss. I'd seen your results. I was giving you those high fives, along that way. And then you were talking about the things you were doing. So what was that big thing of like, where did you want to take it from there? Like, what is that next level piece that where you wanted to go?
I I've never given myself the chance to have a fit body, so to speak. So now I'm actually really kind of looking forward to um, walking down the beach, trunks, abs cut out, pecs, boom, boom, boom. Call it what it will, but yeah, I'm really looking forward to that day, and I'm working hard to achieve that goal now,
Mm.
because I've never had that, and I think I've been envious of other people that have had that, and I've told myself, well, I could never do that. I could never do that. It, Now I started to feel like, well, maybe I can. Maybe I can. Maybe it's not this pie in the sky thing that I've always put it as. Maybe it's just I haven't been willing to take the steps necessary to achieve it. Now that that goal is much closer, let's see if we can get there.
Mhm.
And chomping at the bit for sure. And I see the results so far. Not complaining. Um, and I can feel it in my body, and it feels fantastic. Like I'm a much better version of myself than I probably ever have been.
I love it. I love to hear that, Saudi. And the one thing that I hear from you a lot, and you just said it when you're like chomping at the bit, and I remember the first time that we talked, this concept of just being hungry, right? This desire for like change, for results, for vision. And I know this is one
Mhm,
thing you and I talk about a lot, we work on a lot. It's just like, Saudi, what do you want to achieve? What do we want to build?
mhm,
Right. And I can feel it. And I'm sure those guys out there too, I hope they can feel it
mhm,
of just like that shutting down. Exactly, like you just want to pull through the screen and get off. Like
mhm,
when we first started, it was the funniest thing. I was trying to like slow you down of just being like, okay, Saudi, we're introducing weights. This is gonna take time. You're like, give me more. Like I just want to train every day. This feels amazing. So I love to see, because if we contrast, or we think about that man at like when you were 400, how driven, how like did the vision that you must have had versus that vision now, right? Like you're saying, it's night and day,
night
right?
and day, night and day. Like my perspective back then was just, it was an impossibility. It was not something that was feasible. It was not something that was realistic. I had just accepted basically that this is the way I am. This is the way I was, and there's not a damn thing I can do about it. Um, that lie that I told myself, um, if I would have known then what I know now, you know, geez. But you know what? I mean, I'm here now. I'm on the right path now, and I'm very much excited for the future. I'm very much looking forward to it. Whereas back then, you know, waking up the next day was just nah. Now I wake up, I'm just like, let's take it.
Yeah, the
Carpe,
hunger.
carpe diem, man.
Yeah, I love it. And we got Adam. He said here, small wins make you feel better. Multiple wins give you the confidence to make the big wins. And this is
Hmm.
exactly right, like what we saw that you went through. I
Hmm.
think one thing I want to ask is like, so what difference did it make for you in terms of like you were kind of going it alone to push-ups, jumping jacks, kind of when you could, to getting that point where we started working together, you started getting coaching, you started getting a plan and program. What difference did that make for you?
I was I was had a little bit of skepticism. That faded away after the first couple of weeks. Um, I had a little bit of, I guess we'll call it arrogance about it. Um, I had gotten this point by myself. I can get the rest of the way by myself. And maybe that would have been true, maybe not. In the end though, what I found with having a trainer and a plan is that I can actually take more structured concrete steps to achieve my goal, to be more efficient, to be um yeah, just to see a better conversion on my efforts, basically. Um, if I didn't have a trainer, I would basically be doing jumping jacks, push-ups, blah 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 blah, and I'd be seeing some results. But the results I'm seeing now, with my muscle development, is much better than I thought it would be, to be honest. Much better than the pace I was going at as is. So yeah, no, it definitely made a difference. And you switch it up a fair bit, so it's always interesting. I open up my phone and I'm like, what the hell is this? And I watch the videos and see what steps I need to take, and ask questions when I need to if I'm not understanding something. But then I get down to work, and now I've invested in some equipment, some weights. I'm basically still just bars and plates. That's all I
Saudi,
have. I
I
don't
think,
have.
and I think the people need to know, you are doing the epitome of like barbarian training here. Okay. So to
Thank
picture
you.
going from like jumping jacks in your living room and push-ups in the commercials, right, is kind of what I'm picturing, to now you're working out in your basement, which is unfinished, and which is bad. It's a
Mhm.
question. Why haven't you finished your basement yet? And I'm sure Tasha's gonna, anyways, we'll talk about
Yeah.
that. But yeah, this is just occurring to me. I'm like, wait a minute, you're in this like barbarian dungeon setting. What did you get yourself? You have a bar and plates, right? And not only that, but after like what, a month and a half, you had to go out and buy more plates because you just
Mhm.
got stronger and you're like throwing those weights around. So, but I love it because to me, it's just that raw energy of like, you don't
Mhm.
need anything fancy. We don't need this fancy gym. You're in the
No.
basement. You're there. You got your space. You got your energy, and it's you and the weights, right?
Mhm.
And like you said, you're putting in the work to get yourself those results.
For sure.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And sometimes I have to remind myself. I have to appreciate. And when I saw the picture, like when you asked me for a couple of pictures from when I was bigger, I was looking through and I was like, I didn't even I understand what my doctor was saying. I don't even recognize that person. I don't even recognize. Like I had like a good extra 10 pounds on my face alone. Like
Mm,
it was insane. And when I look back at them, I'm like, it's like the only word I can think of is surreal, because uh I don't know how, like I know how it happened, but the fact that it was so obtuse and I went through so many different processes to kind of justify it. And
mm,
I think that's the big thing. I was always justifying it. I was always, if somebody didn't like it, that's on them. That's not my problem. That's on them. And there's a certain element of that is true. But when you start hearing a chorus, eventually you got to face up the face up to the fact that you're really just kind of lying to yourself.
mm.
And that's a tough thing. That's a tough thing to get over that hump. But once I did get over that hump and, started actually putting in some effort into my physical well-being, which, everybody should be doing. We get one life, right? This is our vessel that we get to ride in. We can make it as good or as bad as we want.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's it. And we want to make that enjoyable. Adam's saying here, it's surreal now because you are living the dream. You're making progress, inspiring others, right? And I'm
Oh.
sure this is something you never thought you'd be doing, is sitting here talking to me, having this conversation with other dudes listening in, right? And
Mhm.
having that as inspiration for them. So the one thing,
It,
Sally, that I just want to get back to, because I love to see this transformation process, all this stuff. And
sure.
when you made that decision, right, that you're like, okay, I'm making good progress, we're going to make the decision to work together, you started seeing that acceleration of that pace, of that effort of your results, right? And
Mhm.
like,
Yes.
right, I'm making you a program, us innately, right? We're going to do those things that are easy for us, that we feel good. And, as you said, I give you some crazy stuff because I'm going to challenge
Mhm.
you to bring you to those goals.
Absolutely. Yeah,
Beyond
for
the
sure.
physical, has the coaching, having that support, has that helped on any of the mindset pieces, the motivation, any of that stuff, like any of the hurdles we sort of encountered along the way?
Yeah, and I think it's important. I think it's important to recognize that this is still a journey. This is still a process. Um, just because I've gotten this far, Doesn't mean that I don't have my challenges. Like, Patrick, sometimes I have challenges with timing. Sometimes I have challenges with motivation. As hungry as I am,
Mhm.
sometimes those things still pop up. And I have a bunch of tricks in my bag now. Part that I've developed, part that I've gotten from you, where I challenge myself. Sometimes I'll wake up and I'll look in the mirror and I'll say, how are you going to make your life better today? And sometimes it's something as simple as just being honest with yourself, looking in the mirror. What are you going to do to make today better, and what are you going to do to make tomorrow better? Because that's really the basics of what we are doing here. We're trying to improve our lives. Not only does it affect our physicality, but it affects our mental well-being,
Mhm.
affects our confidence, our swag, so to speak. You know what I mean? So, like, it touches on every aspect of your life. And when you have that confidence, when you have your swag back, so to speak, you're a happier person. You're more your natural self than you ever were back when you were whatever your weight was. Um, that's the dream. That's the dream, to be comfortable in your own skin, right?
Yeah. And I love it, right? Like that dream to feel like you're being yourself, right?
Hmm.
And to really achieve and embody that. So how, like you mentioned a little bit, but if you can give me some details, like how has this impacted your jobs? How has this impacted your relationships? How has this impacted your life?
I mean, how has it not? I mean, that would be the shorter answer, to be honestly, Patrick. That would be the shorter answer is how has it not? My jobs, with my experience now and, this drop of weight and increase in strength, my jobs are not nearly as challenging as they always have been, you know. My relationships with my friends are much better. I'm more involved. I'm not, you know, if my friends want to go out and do something, I'm not like, oh, I don't really feel like it because, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, yeah, man, let's go. Let's do it. My relationship with my mother, I've inspired her to make some changes. And even
Mm.
my relationship with my wife, she's seen the changes in me, and now she feels like she's got to play a little bit of catch up, which I never thought would happen. I never thought that would happen. That blows my mind away. But so now we're challenging each other. We're motivating each other. And if there's a day where I'm not feeling up to snuff, I'll reach out to her and say, let's work out together today. And she'll do the same. So when we have days when we're not feeling where our motivation isn't where it should be, we'll lean on each other a little bit and
Mhm.
we'll kind of build that together. And we're happier for it. We're better off for it, not only physically, but mentally as well.
Which is beautiful, to see, like you said, it's not what aspect of my life hasn't been, or sorry, right? It's not looking at what aspect has been affected. It's like really what hasn't been. Everything, right, is just taking to that next
It's,
level.
it's touched everything. It's touched everything like 100, even my relationship with my kids. Last year, my kids saw me ride a bike for the first time and they were confused. They were confused. They like legitimately, they're like, what's going on here? You know what I mean?
They didn't know you could
So
ride a bike, eh?
they had never seen it. They had never seen it. And I was racing them and they were like, what the heck's going on here? So like, the impact that it's had on my family, I'm going out and doing stuff with them. I'm going skating or tobogganing or whatever the case may be in the winter or in the summer. I'm more active, and that's instilling them to be more active. And now my youngest, whenever I want to work out or I'm going to work out, and what my regime is like now,
Yeah.
it's pretty regular now. She wants to join me, and she does what she can, and sometimes she gets disinterested and whatnot, but she wants to join me every time because
Mhm.
she likes the changes that she's seeing in me and wants to be involved in that. So now I feel like I'm doing a better job as a parent. I'm not talking the talk, I'm walking the walk as well. And that allows them to believe, if you will, more in it. It makes sense to them more because now I'm not just, you should, I'm, I am, so you should as well.
Yeah, I love it. It's I think about this, the idea of being a living example, right? It's one thing to give an
Mhm.
example, but you're being a real living example of like how to embody these principles, how to live your life. You're showing your kids, you're showing your family, right? And
Mhm.
you're showing up in that way to inspire, which is such a thing. One other thing I just want to note that you said, and I love this, because when you describe where you were before, right? That man when you were at 400 pounds, there
Mhm.
wasn't this idea of engagement, right? There was almost this idea of like pushing reality away, right? And
Yeah.
not sort of facing things. And I love like
Mhm.
when you brought up with your friends and, growing your wife, is this idea of now you're being engaged in things. You're like, no, I want to go out and do this. It's almost like, it sounds like it opens up, right? Like your
Yeah.
possibilities of life in terms of like what you can do.
Yeah. No, it's this is gonna sound corny. It's a whole new world. It really is. It's yeah, like I would, my wife is a bit of an outdoorsy person. Oh, let's go for a walk. We'll go to the park. Blah, 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 and I'd be like, no, no, I'm sitting here eating Doritos, watching my show. Leave me alone. Um, so now I'm not associating with people that mean the most to me because it's inconvenient for me. It's uncomfortable for me. Uh, these days, not only am I doing so, but now sometimes I'm leading that charge. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? So all in all, it's a pretty cool thing. It
Well,
makes me feel good. It makes me feel good to be a positive influence on my family, especially in those regards. And yeah, it just life's good, baby.
I like it. Yeah, Joe Keating here is saying, love it. Being a role model for your kids through your actions. And I think this is something that, like, all of us as dads, we want to be showing up for the family. We want to be showing
Mhm.
up. Adam said, I love the part about asking yourself, how are you going to make you better today? That focus is awesome. He's asking a question here, and I think this is a great one. What advice can you give to dads that are getting started on a similar journey?
Um, um, three things. Um, Stick with itness, be dedicated, keep your head down. Don't be so focused on the results right away. I,
So
I
focus
know
on like the plan, the process.
the process. Um, that was, I think, a big thing for me initially is, keep your head down. Everybody goes to work, everybody goes to sleep, everybody has their meals. It's part of your day. You just include it as part of your day. It's a necessary step as part of your day. Don't be results orientated, be
Mhm.
process orientated.
Love it.
um, Another one would probably be surround yourself with people that feel the same. When I was younger, I was surrounded by people that didn't take physical fitness with a grain of seriousness. Surround yourself with people as much as you can that have a similar mindset, a similar strategy. My wife certainly helped me out with that. But we are who we surround ourselves with
Yeah,
to a
yeah.
certain degree, right? So,
That old thing,
uh,
right? Like you're the average of like the five friends you have, the average of the five people you spend
exactly,
most time with. Yeah.
exactly. So some I started hanging around with some of my friends less, and some of my friends more. Um, Not that I'm poo-pooing on anybody, but for me to basically, I want to put myself in the best position to succeed. And if I surround myself with people that are eating pizza 4 times a week and stuff, it makes that journey a little bit harder. And I want to make this journey, it's hard enough. If this was easy, everybody would do it and everybody would be hunky-dory and we'd all have rainbows and sparkles all over the place. It's hard work. It takes a lot of time and it takes a lot of dedication, but it is doable for everyone. So I tried to surround myself with people that had a similar mindset, that wanted to, take the necessary steps to improve themselves.
So this kind
And
of like people that are growth focused, people that are engaged, people that are like living life, not hiding from it, right?
Exactly. Yeah. Thirdly, I would say don't quit. You just don't stop. You just don't stop. There'll be reasons. There's always going to be a reason for you not to do something. Always, regardless of what it is. There's always a reason. I don't feel like it. Oh, I have a bit of a headache. I've had a long day at work. Whatever the case may be, you can come up with a plethora of excuses. Just do it. Like, Nike it up. Just do it.
The one thing I give you a lot of credit for, and you came into this when we started working together, you were in a great spot. You built out a lot of confidence and you were really ready to take those next steps of like, okay, let's see training to the next level. And one of the things, we started working on from a mindset perspective at the front is like, okay, what's our vision? What do we want to build? And, we've always been reinforcing that. And for you, I'm going to share the one thing that sort of comes up sometimes is still that motivation. And it could be that one little setback that happens or the one thing that throws you off. And it's trying to like really, troubleshoot and bring it back to like, okay, let's remind ourselves of like what our focus is. Let's remind ourselves of our goal, our vision of what we're trying to build. Right. And I think, this is one of the good things about having this coach and being in this relationship that I've loved is just seeing like not only how hungry you are, but helping to keep you on that path, that when we fall that one step on the path, like you're saying, like I never doubted that you were going to quit, but that like just being there at that right time to give you that nudge to go, okay, we're back again. And that little thing, this happens with a lot of people in life. We make a change, we get something happens and then we're off. And it could be we're off for months or we're off for years. But what I've loved for you is like, you've been so great at those little suggestions, little nudges, you get right back in the groove and you get back into the grind, right? So like a couple of weeks ago, you helped a buddy move a piano, which there are people that this is their job, not your job. That's it. So you helped and you put out the back a little bit, right? So we had a setback for a week, we adapt, we troubleshoot, you're right back into it. And this is your success. I say it all the time, consistency, right? Consistency of effort is going to produce a result.
Yeah,
so
no,
I got
for sure.
2 more questions I want to ask you here.
Yeah.
Number 1, what's next? Like, where are you taking this?
Oh, it's not stopping, buddy. Can't stop, won't stop.
90s hip hop gave us a lot of good lines, eh?
For sure. I got a little street in me still, All
right. So the vision you said earlier, when you talk about like building it up, building that strength, the beach.
Yeah.
Like
we're going mini rock, buddy. Mini rock.
Mini rock. That's what we did talk about, eh?
Yeah.
So of course we're talking about The Rock, right? Mr. Dwayne Johnson.
Yeah.
You're going to be
Mr. Dwayne Johnson, all 6'5", 200. God knows how much of him.
Yeah, well, he's got he's got like nutritionists and chefs, and he takes a gym with him around the world. So he's got
Yeah. But you know what? That doesn't matter. That's nice. That's nice. But he's still putting in the time. He's still putting in the effort. And if he didn't do that, he wouldn't have the results. Plain and simple.
Vision, it sounds, Saadi, like this vision that we've built and this vision you have, it sounds like it's so strong, and nothing's going to slow you down to get there, right? We're just
no. Uphill both ways during the winter, doesn't matter.
All right, the last question I have, and this one's actually coming from Adam, and I like it. It says, if you could, what challenge would you issue to other dads, our barbarian dads in the group here?
Oh, that is a phenomenal question,
I
Adam.
know. That's why I was like, Adam, damn, that's a good question. You know,
Is
Saadi, you've
a
made this big
very good
change. You've had this
question.
transformation. You're inspiring everybody here listening to this. What challenge can we throw down to the dads here?
What challenge can we throw down to the dads? So that's got to be something that's got to touch everybody. Um,
And
how
I
specific
want
do
you
we
to
need
think
to be?
what I would think. I'd just say this. Look, think about your journey. Think about one thing that helped you. What's one thing that you could challenge? Maybe those dads that are like struggling to take action, or maybe they're on their journey already and you know that they're going
Mhm.
through this process. Like, what's one thing that you could challenge them on that you know that will help them to either start or stick to it? That helps you.
Um, what helped me? Um, I've always had high expectations of myself, regardless
Mhm.
of what my course was, regardless of what I did. When I decided to make a decision for myself, I set the bar high. Um, so I would challenge my fellow barbarians to shoot for the moon. There's no limit. It's time and effort. Whatever you want to achieve, you can achieve. It's just going to take some grinding. And you know what? Grinding is good. Grinding develops your character. Grinding makes you a better person. Grinding maketh the man. So,
Grinding maketh the man. I love it.
yeah,
Okay, so I like what you're saying, Saadi. I think what we're going to do, because I think we have an opportunity here. There's some guys out there who could use some inspiration. I'm
sure.
going to circle back with you on this, and we're going to put a little challenge together for the guys in the group. And in the next couple
Absolutely.
weeks, we're going to put something together. It's going to be a little bit more concrete, and we're going to call this the Saadi
Yeah.
challenge, right? We're going to go like maybe
Ooh,
the Saadi. Oh wait, we're going to. Sorry, it's like this is what happens. My wheels start turning, right? I'm
nice.
coming. I don't want to release it. You know, it's not ready, but
Yeah. Oh,
Saadi, I think
bring
we
it.
could, based on your experience, what helped you, we'll circle back. Let's put something together for the guys here, and we'll do a little
Hmm.
February throwdown to see what we can do. All right.
Yeah, for
Saadi,
sure, for sure.
is there anything like that? Anything else you want to share? Anything else you want to say that we haven't covered here?
Um, Initially I would say no, but I would just like to say that um it's I feel like it's a bit of a privilege to see that I've changed my life and that maybe it might help somebody else make some positive change. So I would like to actually thank my fellow barbarians to listen to my story, and I hope that it, if it helps to motivate anybody to start making these changes, that's why I agreed to this interview. I would love it if you know if these steps that I've taken can inspire somebody else to make similar steps for themselves and improve their own lives, because you know, well, let's be honest, that made me feel pretty good too as well. So if that can happen as a result of this, then I'm very happy with it.
And you know, we're social animals, Saadi, right? And like I always love that idea, right? If you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, go together. And
Hmm.
I really thank you for coming on here today. I know how inspiring the story has been to me, to other people that we know, and I'm just excited to share this with everybody else. So I appreciate, you know, how open, honest you've been, how candid you've
My
been
pleasure.
of sharing this, and I think there's a lot of people out here that need to share your message. So, you know, thank you, brother, for doing this.
Can I just add one thing?
Of course.
Um, if there's any of my fellow barbarians out there that want to DM me or want to touch base, and if I can help in any way, shape, or form, I want to make myself available. So
Perfect. So how
don't
do
be
they reach
shy.
you? How do they contact you?
Facebook Messenger is fine because we're all
Okay.
on Facebook nowadays. I'm in
Except
Facebook
you're
jail,
currently
so
banned because you talked shit after the Super Bowl and got yourself
yes,
banned. So
yes, yes. So Facebook Messenger is still active for me.
okay.
But yeah, if anybody wants to reach out or is looking for advice or whatever, I mean, I'm more than happy to do whatever I can to help.
I love it, Saadi. All right. And if you don't know how to get a hold of Saadi, I'll link it here. His name's going to be there, but just shoot me a message. We'll figure it out. Okay. So Saadi,
Perfect.
stay on with me here. To all the
Yeah.
barbarians out there, thanks for tuning in. A lot of you guys were watching live, and I know a lot more are going to love it on the replay. All right. Peace out, guys. Have a good one. Let's go make some impact. Change your life like Saadi did. For yourself
Yeah, man.
first, for your family, for everyone else second. You only live
Absolutely.
once. Let's make it a good one. All right. Peace out, guys. All right, Saadi. I'm just
Yes,
going to
sir.
stop my recording.